Okay, folks, so this is the tangent and the cotangent parent graphs in section 8.7. We'll start with tangent. First thing I'd like to remind you of is that tangent of x is equal to, now according to SOHCAHTOA, it's opposite over adjacent, or you could say the y value over the x value. But one thing that we keep running into over and over again is that my y value is my sine value over my x value, which is my cosine value. So tangent is the same thing as sine over cosine. Again, when I have a fraction, there is a number that causes problems when I have this number in the bottom of my fraction. So if cosine down on bottom equals 0, then I have to draw an asymptote. So I'm going to start out with this part first. Where does cosine equal 0? So if you'll go to your unit circle, find out where does cosine equal 0. Now you should have come up with pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. Let's get some numbers on our axes here. We go all the way to the end, which is 2 pi. Half of that is pi. Pi over 2 for the first quarter, and you can count 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, 4/2. I'm actually not going to even need to mark on my y-axis a number. You can mark a 1 if you would like to, but I'm not going to. So if cosine equals 0 at pi over 2, then this is going to be one of my asymptotes, and 3 pi over 2 is going to be my other asymptote. So we're going to go ahead and draw asymptotes at pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. So then you ask yourself the other 3 positions, because I'm still working with my 5 major values here. The other 3 positions, let's start with the origin. What is the tangent value at 0? Well, if you go to your unit circle and you look at y over x, that's going to be 0 over 1. So my tangent value of 0 is 0. And you can make a list of this if you'd like. Tangent of 0 equals 0. The tangent at pi is the next one we'd like to look at. Well, this is going to be, again, y value over x value. It's going to be 0 over -1, so equals 0 again. And we know that 0 is the same spot as 2 pi, so the tangent of 2 pi is going to be the same thing as the tangent at 0 was, which is 0. So far, this doesn't tell us a whole lot about our graph, but I'll go ahead and just cut to the chase. Basically, starting at the origin, your tangent graph goes uphill and gets closer and closer and closer to the asymptote. Now, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I gave you a note over here that says we're always going to be drawing 2 full periods. So what I just drew for you was the first half of the first period. So I'm going to go to pi, and this is where my second period starts over again. So actually what I draw starting at 0 is the same thing that I'm going to draw starting at pi. Now let's talk about the rest of the graph. Starting at the asymptote pi over 2, this is going to come up and meet the x-axis. And since that's the last part of the first period, I need to draw the last part of the second period. So the last part of the second period looks exactly the same. And this is the parent tangent. Let's go do the exact same thing for the parent cotangent. Cotangent, we know, is the x value over the y value, or the cosine value over the sine value. Let's get our numbers on the graph again. We have 2 pi. Pi is half. Pi over 2 is a first quarter. 1/2, 2/2, 3/2, and 4/2. But now it's sine that causes the problem on the bottom. Where is my sine value equal to 0? Where is my y value equal to 0? Well, I know that the y value is equal to 0 at 0. I'm going to have an asymptote at 0 or on the y-axis. The next time my y value is 0, if you're looking at the unit circle, is at pi. And then the last time is at 2 pi. So I have asymptotes at the beginning, the middle, and the ending. If you ask yourself what's the cotangent at pi over 2, this is my x value over my y value. Well, my x value is 0, my y value is 1, this is equal to 0. Same thing at 3 pi over 2, only it would be 0 over negative 1, but it's still equal to 0. Now the cotangent graph does not go uphill, the cotangent graph goes downhill. And it's really easy to see the two full periods in the cotangent graph. It's a little bit more difficult to see in the tangent graph. Cotangent, it's easy to see the two full periods. So here we have asymptotes at beginning, middle, end. And our graph is going downhill. Back to our tangent graph, our asymptotes are not at the beginning, middle, and end. Asymptotes are at the quarters. And my tangent graph goes uphill. And there you have the tangent and the cotangent parents.